Price in strong support of the amendment offered by the gentlewoman from the District of Columbia, Ms. Norton. The amendment does get to the heart of the matter and why the underlying legislation is, in my view, reckless. Stopping the administration's rulemaking to clarify the Clean Water Act would further impact the already dire circumstances Western states are facing with prolonged drought. Each new day brings another dire warning about the state of California's water supply, where 99.2% of the California population drinks water from the public drinking water system that rely on seasonal, rain-dependent headwater streams. It will also prove unnecessary, as the administration is already committed to making changes to address concerns with the proposed rule. During all the hearings, the public comments on this rule, I focused on concerns that have been raised by my constituency and how the rule could potentially impact California. I have echoed concerns about whether this proposed clean water rule might have inadvertently captured the MS4's municipal separate sanitary stormwater sewer system or water reuse or recycling projects under its scope. In response, EPA administrator testified, quote, EPA has not intended to capture features that have already been captured in MS4 permits, and it is our intent to continue to encourage and respect those decisions and to encourage water reuse and recycling, which is very much consistent with the Clean Water Act and our overall intent. Further, the administrator testified EPA would make very clear that these exclusions are articulated in the final rules. That's why we need to see it, so that people will see in writing what they've been talking and asking us about. Questions have also been raised about several Western state water supply agencies about the status of water supply canals, water transfers, or groundwater projects, which are important tools used in the West to address our historic continuing drought conditions. In response, again, EPA testified that, quote, the proposed rule would not expand jurisdiction over water delivery systems such as canals used for irrigation, industrial, and residential water deliveries. If such features are not covered now under the test established by the Supreme Court, they would not become jurisdictional under the proposed rule, close quote, end quote. EPA also testified, quote, the proposed rule would not alter the status quo regarding water transfers, and testified numerous times on the jurisdictional status of groundwater by stating, we explicitly make sure to mention that groundwater is not included. Unfortunately, today's bill were to pass, at best it would be months or years before we could learn how the agencies plan to respond to these issues, and only after expenditure of more millions of taxpayer dollars and countless hours of more bureaucracy for bureaucracy's sake. However, an equally plausible outcome, and one I believe is the real intent of the legislation, is to block administration from ever providing regulatory certainty that farmers, developers, and conservationists are all asking for. All the while, our precious water resources in the West will continue to dry, and don't forget that's a lot of our budget for our general fund, remain unprotected, or worse, are irreparably harmed by continued development or mismanagement. We in the West can't simply afford it. Our constituents don't want to be able to afford this delay, and our nation certainly cannot afford the delay. I urge support of the Norton Amendment, but oppose the final bill, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you, gentlelady. Any members wish to be heard?